Union Avenue Opera capped off an excellent season with an opera that was less familiar than the others, but no less compelling on stage. That is saying a lot when you consider how fine Candide and La Bohème were. The final offering was Glory Denied, with music and libretto both by Tom Sapullo. This contemporary chamber opera was based on Tom Philpott's biography of the same name, with the subtitle, The Vietnam Saga of Jim Thompson, America's Longest-Held Prisoner of War. The Army captain was a passenger on an observation plane that was shot down in South Vietnam in 1964. When his pregnant wife Alice learned that he was missing, the news sent her into labor. Jim was a prisoner for 10 days short of 9 years, and all that time Alice had no word of him. For part of the time he was in a cage too cramped to allow any comfortable position. He went 5 years without speaking to another American. Jim and Alice are the only people in Sapullo's libretto, but they are played at 2 different ages by the 4 performers. Sapullo shrewdly exploits the theatrical possibilities of having younger and older versions of the characters on stage at the same time. In the first act, young Jim and young Alice are behind old Jim as he tells of his brutal captivity. The action is intense when old Jim repeats the insults and orders his captors barked at him while we watch young Jim suffer the consequences. This device is much more dramatic than a simple monologue would have been. Young Alice is presented in this scene as older Jim recalls her. His memories of her are what sustained him during his ordeal. The audience can see how different the remembered Alice is from the real one who was also on stage. The real Alice had no way of knowing whether Jim was still alive. With no reason to hold out hope for a better future, the real Alice found solace elsewhere. When Jim finally returned, resuming the life he had before was no longer possible. This story unfolded with riveting drama at Union Avenue, thanks to the gripping and deeply sympathetic portrayals by Peter Kendall Clark as old Jim, Gina Galati as old Alice, David Walton as young Jim, and Karina Brazas as young Alice. Director Dean Anthony created telling stage pictures on a spare but imposing set by Roger Spidell under evocative lighting by Joseph W. Clapper, enhanced with aptly chosen costumes by Teresa Doggett and props by Kate Slavinsky. Conductor Scott Schoonover and the chamber orchestra were ardent advocates of Sapullo's score, which is highly accessible and uses dissonance only when is needed in the story. Most impressive were Jim's mad scenes in the second act, which are his response to the unfamiliar world and grievous sorrows he encounters after finally coming home. He blurts out clipped phrases connected by theme but not syntax with the snowballing terror of a man under ceaseless attack. This is brilliant music that I want to hear again.
Yeah, I really, I think this opera really grabbed me with that last scene. And there was also that marvelous number he had when he's realizing how the world has changed, and
Yes.
the rhymes about what was happening in the 60s. Very clever, very nicely done. So let's hear some of the music.